Welcome to the 3D Maker Zone and Paula also. We're a company specialized in digital production and digitalization. So it's a lot of digitalization in my words. I already, how do you say, struggle over it. It's difficult to pronounce sometimes, but 3D Maker Zone started in 2016 in this building. With a set of 3D printers. So we wanted to do something with 3D printing, but there weren't a lot of customers who wanted to buy a 3D printed object because it was very new technology and a new way of producing. So that's when we started to ask other companies to cooperate with companies, but also with local universities as well. And then in 2016, in Holland started a program for smart industry. So there's a European Economic Affairs, our Ministry of Economic Affairs started a program for innovate the industry in Holland. It's like Industry 4.0 in Germany, but in Holland it's called Smart Industry. So one of the first things they started is to do something with innovation hubs. And we are two innovation hubs for the smart industry. So one is for the industry itself, and the other one is for the construction industry, because the industry for the construction also needs to innovate as well. So what you see is a lot of use cases here and a lot of test areas where we can test with new materials, with new product systems, with the production system, but also where we can let companies see what is possible and what we can do with innovative technologies and innovative materials. So we show a lot of innovations here and also what you can do with this innovation. Well, in 2016 we started for the industry, our field lab for the industry, and we did it ourselves. But when we decided to do the same for the construction area, it was a lot more volume, bigger. The construction industry is more traditional, so we had to innovate ourselves as well, and that was impossible with our money. So that's when we first started to ask the government to subsidize us or do something with our programming, and we asked the European, the IFRO, ERDF.
Regional Development Fund.
Okay, so I wanted to translate it in English, but it is the ERDF to help us start our innovation hub for the construction area, and they did. So we made a plan, start Bouwlab R&D, and they subsidized us with 40% from the European funding and 25% from the province. So together with their money and our own, how do you say it? The co-funding. Co-funding is the right word. So together with our own co-funding, we had enough money to start our program for companies in the construction sector. And what we did is build some test areas, some test machines. We made a program for the companies, so the small, medium enterprises, to see what is possible to introduce them in new technologies, to inspire them, but also to make them active in new, to start new innovations. And so a program, test facilities, and an ecosystem. So we do some events monthly to get people over here and to inspire them as well, and to disseminate our own innovations, but also to let them experience new innovations themselves and to show what's possible. So the program is funded, and the test facilities are partly funded, and also the ecosystem, the start of an ecosystem for innovation also was funded by the program. And now, after 4.5 years, because I'm in the last phase of vaststellen, so the last phase of the first EFRO subsidized project. And we started with, I think, about 4 companies who are involved or doing something over here, but now we have over more than 200 partners who are here sometimes to see what happens, to drink a cup of coffee, but also to start their own projects in using new materials to do something with digitalization or to use our facilities for testing, for example. So that program was very, very, very successful. And later on we'll walk around and see what we did with the test facilities, for example, and how companies can make use of it. Without explaining something how we do that, because it's not easy, but it works. So people are coming over here to get inspired, and afterwards they say, can you do something, can you help me with this? And then we help the company innovate further on with new technology and new materials. So that works. And one of the things we started about a year ago, also with European funding, but that's not for us, but that is also for the company, and that works as well, because we see a lot of interest for that, is we can issue vouchers for innovation, for digital innovation, also in the smart industry area. So still in the program of smart industry, we can help small medium enterprise with their first test before invest project. So first of all, we help them inventarize, help them analyze what is happening in the world, what can I do with the new technologies, and what kind of technologies would be interesting for my company. So we can help them translate what happens, what is interesting for your situation, and what can you do in another phase. Second phase in the innovation is to help them do their first experiment. So is it possible to, for us it's 3D printing, for example, is it not possible to use 3D printing for printing, what have we done?
Tables.
A lot of tables, a lot of furniture, but also industrial parts. We make, what's the English word? Something to do with manholes. So large manholes for the infrastructure, can you print them? And there's a certain kind of business model in it.
But you charge for this service, or it's free?
No, because it's funded.
Because
that is what the voucher project is for. We can help them. The first project is 100% funded. 100% funded with European subsidies. So the first steps are very easy for them. The last step that is to translate what you did in the feasibility study. Is it possible? Then okay, let's do it in our environment, for example. That's called a pilot project, and then they have to invest themselves for 50%. So 50% coming from Europe and 50% coming from.
What is the value of a voucher?
The first one is for the analyze part, the inventarisatie voucher. I don't know if that's the way you translate it in English, but it's like analyze, advise.
No. But if you can measure what would be in euro, what would be the
first
value?
one, the first one, the value for the MKB. For the small medium enterprise is 5,000 euros, so it's small, but we can do our first activities for them. The second one is the feasibility study, and that varies a lot, but now the amount is 10,000 euro, and sometimes it is big projects, and sometimes it's a little bit smaller, but then we make it worth 10,000 euro. So the second part is 10,000 euro for the company as well. So we do our job, and then they have a value for 10,000. Yeah, and that works a lot. It works very good, but because within 10,000 euro you can do some study, some test study. You can also do sometimes first prototyping with the new material or the new production facility. What kind of printers do you use? Can we make first model of it, and we can do that within the 10,000 euros. But sometimes it's only digitalization, and then it's more or less hours. Then we can make a proof of concept, probably, but not always. So we always say it is a feasibility study, but we can see what we can do within the budget we have. So that's what, yeah, it varies per project. But the value is 10,000.
But could you give an illustration, one or two concrete cases? What ideas people came with here?
Let's go.
Okay.
Yeah, the granulate. We have a shredder over there outside, and we can reuse our own material, for example. But there are a lot of companies who want to try if their own material is reusable. And because of the use of granulate, we can do some testing with it. So if we know what kind of materials it is, then we can try and help them with their first test. So we print with it. Before that, we have a small extruder somewhere over there, and we can see what happens with the material. So we have some testing facilities to help start with their own materials. So that is one of the type of projects we can help them with. Also, we can do, before that, we have those, what is the best name for the inventarisatie voucher? It's some kind of advice. This is one of the things that we find worthy to go to market with. So we started a new company called More Than Layers. It's over there, and they do the commercial activities. So that is the commercial activity. When an innovation becomes marketable, then it's not good for the field labs to go on with it, and we try to do something else. So we start a new company, or we sell the knowledge. Now sell, not really, but we try to give it or exchange it for something, but we're not going to go to market from the innovation hubs, but we try to scale up the construction. How do you say it?
When the material is 3D printed, is it reusable or not?
Yeah.
It
Not
can be
always.
melted down.
Yeah, because we start with recycled materials, but most of the time we buy it in a recycled form. So what you see is, I think, recycled paper, but I'm not really sure. But sometimes, because of the trend or the type of forms, the recycled material is not strong enough. So most of the time we start with recycled materials, and then we use recycled materials.
But it could be if it's not like strong enough or it's not shared, you use it for something else. Okay.
Yeah, we use it now for our own prototypes. So if it comes like a commercial version, then we use the recycled material we buy. But for our prototypes, it's good enough.
Yeah.
Because we're not really sure if it's strong enough, if the color is good enough. So we're not really sure about our own process. But we started a project before, I think in June or July, to see if we can make our own process good enough to use our material for commercial objects. Mm-hmm. So then, if we're able to use our own material and make it good enough for our customers, then we have a closed loop. But now it's closed, but with other partners. So you can use it, and we can use it, but not always in the same amount and at the same time. But we try to do it more and more and more to close the loop for ourselves. And that is also projects that are tests that are interested for other companies, but also for ourselves to start new projects. And then we apply for new funding, for example. For this kind of funding, there is a call for something with plastic materials. I don't know the exact name of the call, but I applied for funding for this project because it's especially interesting to see if we can close our loop. Because if we can do it, then other companies can do as well. So we can disseminate our knowledge about this. What do you have to do to change your production process in order to use your own materials? We can tell that to other companies, and they can do it themselves. So we try to do ourselves and then apply for funding, but also the results of the funding will be broadcast and we disseminate our knowledge, what we have. That's what we can do.
Yeah.
Go outside. Oh, forgot. Sorry. No, we're talking about plastics again, but I wanted to talk to you about stone printing because there's one of the first stone printers issued in Holland. There was a new innovation started in Delft called concrete, and they developed a new machine to use powdery material and bind it with some kind of geopolymer, so it's something else than cement. And most of the time we use it for experiments with cultural heritage, like sculpting, but also we can use it to, in small issues, use it for like bricks and stones. And the small issues is most of the time not profitable for the company, but if you listen to them, what they have to do, because of the small, how do you say, the amount of products they need, and sometimes the business case is good enough. For example, I have one of the business cases over there, is also an innovation project, is like stone. So this was the original, and it was not really printable. We thought, well, why do you want to print this? So a company calls us and says, well, can you print this for us? And the first thing we ask is, why do we have to print this? Because it's very easy, off-the-shelf product. And then they start to talk about what the issues are they encounter. And for example, this is an old building. So these bricks are not off the shelf, and they only want to have 10 or 15. So if you want to have new ones, then you have to make a new
New mold.
Yeah.
mold. Yeah, I think mold.
Mold.
For the clay industry, and that costs a lot of money, and they only have to have, for example, 10 to replace the old ones. So they asked us to do a test with the printer over here and see if we can print it, and it works very well. But this is €3 if you buy it new, and this is €40 if you buy it if you print it. But if you have to have an exact the same one, then you have to look into Marktplaats, you have to ask a lot around, you have to search for it, or you have to replace it from another part of the building to see if you can find exactly the same bricks. And that costs a lot of money. So if you know that, then you can help the company and see if the business case is profitable for them, if you know what the issues are. So the brick itself was not the issue, but the process to get one, and it's not available, etc. All those kind of questions are useful if you want to know if new technology is applicable for you, or is it not interesting, for example. So we ask a lot of questions to see what happens.
Chairs, this is what I wanted to ask, because if I buy a normal chair, a street chair, it's around 100 euro. I mean, I could buy it with 100, 150 euro. You said this is 600 euro.
Yeah.
So why would I, except if I'm conscious, you know, that
Yeah,
nature,
that's a good
whatever,
question.
but why would I produce these?
These are positioned as design chairs, so for the hospitality sector, I think. Hospitality, gardening, big projects, interior projects. And they call design because you can change all the objects if you like. But if you see at what they cost per material, that is not much. So it's more the process how we make them, and also the positioning what we now do, because the design method is new. It's parametric, and the opportunities you have to personalize is unique. So that is what you also
So the
pay.
market is basically a public institution?
No, big interior design offices. So the ones who design for exhibitions, for office buildings.
Like KPMG is building a new office. And
For the customer, it's not big. No, it's very expensive.
For who?
Yeah,
that
but
I
also
know.
design is expensive. So who buys design? That's most of the time are the design interior decorators, and not the consumer itself. I think because it's expensive. That is true.
Yeah, if you don't have, yeah, you go to IKEA and then.
Yeah, you buy it in China, and that is a very difficult comparison for us because, yeah, it's the same material, but if you want to buy in China, first of all, you have a lot of people have the same object.
Yeah.
Second of all, it comes from China far, far, far away, so that is the transportation costs are low, but the environmental impact is higher. Yeah, so that is also what we want to show, that it is possible to do something over here, but it's not possible to do it for the same cost as they have now, because the plastics are very cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cheap. So
Is it a thing to say that it's designed or produced in the Netherlands? Is it a fashion to buy this or?
yes and no. I think it's better to say it's locally produced because the design can come from everywhere. Because the design is an IT package. It is a file. It is a step file. It is something you can do all over the world. But then you can produce it locally, even with local materials. For example, if you like to use the rest material, the recycled plastics from where you are, for example. So the design is not really location oriented, but the production would be a use case for environmental impact.
And these designs are your designs? They're
Not really mine, but my
Not
her
person.
design, Merel.
But these are like if a Chinese comes and makes a picture and he reproduces in thousands of these.
Yeah.
This is not protected, you mean?
No.
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 Okay.
And that is really, on one way, it is difficult. On the other hand, 3D printing is about designing and creating designs and then be able to produce it. But the production itself is, yeah, you can make everything. If you put the USB in the machine, you can make everything. So it's more or less what the Chinese do themselves also. They reprint. So last week we redesigned our exterior area, so it's very new and clean and nice at the moment. But what you see here is all the examples we have from our concrete printing. And concrete printing started as a technical test system as well. So one of the projects, also funded with the European fund, was to start doing something with 3D printing of concrete. And we decided to use this material, although it is not really environmental friendly, but we can't live in a world without concrete within the next 10 years. So what we try to do is to use what we have now and develop better ways to produce with the material and also produce better materials. And for the concrete, that means that we are designing new kind of manholes that use a lot less material than before. So the amount of material is reduced, but also we try to do something with bio fibers, but for concrete that is very difficult, but that would be the next phase to use, for example, miscanthus. You know miscanthus? It's like a bamboo, it grows very fast and we grow it under the airport because it works for it's called olifantsgras because the elephants can hide in it. It's very big and it grows like bamboo, so very quickly, and it takes a lot of CO2. And if you store CO2 within your object, that's good for the environment, but it's also good for your value of your object. So, but concrete is difficult to use natural fibers with because it has effect on the strength. But we try to test, and we test a lot within our facilities. As you can see, we try to develop also things that are good for the companies, and these are projects we could try to fund with the European funding because that is good for the company as well. Because one of the projects you see over here is a big manhole. There was a masonry project, I think. How do you call it? Normally they masonry them by hand, so in squares, and that is a very expensive process. Alternative is to buy it in England, but after the Brexit, it was more expensive, more difficult to get them over here, and it takes a lot of time also. So we decided to develop one with concrete printing, and normally they masonry it. I don't know if it's the best English, but they make them in squares, and that takes a day and a half. Day and a half, 2 people more or
They
less.
lay the bricks, you mean?
Yeah, they lay the bricks in a square, and then they wait till it's dry, and then you have a manhole. We print in half an hour. So that is a really quick process. For a company who hears this, that is ching, 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 they can see the business case like that. And that is the first thing to help them innovate, because this is an easy way to calculate if something is interesting for them. But that's not really the most interesting thing for us, because we know there's a lot more possible. If you look at the specific forms, the material reducing, for example, that is way more effective than only the change of the traditional way of producing. So now, together with the company who asked us to develop this, we are seeing if we can make them without the hole, for example, with a hole, without because the drilling afterwards is an expensive process, and also has effect on the strength of the hole. So we do a test with using the buizen, the
pipes.
Pipes.
Yeah.
Pipes. So if we can make the hole in it within the pipes themselves, then the process is way shorter than it was before, and it's way more controllable for this company.
Is it durable?
Yeah. But
So
the
if somebody decides to break this bench,
yeah,
the bench in the park, if you put it in a park and somebody tries to break it, is it possible?
it's like a concrete,
So
yeah, bench.
yeah.
Is it comfortable?
You can sit on it. Try it. We have one over there and also here, but it's comfortable. It is concrete. It's like concrete. It is concrete. It's not like concrete. It is concrete. The only way it's different. The way of producing is differently. So it's like the printing inside. We have a big robot, and
It's probably like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it does like this, layers by layers, and so the layer has to dry within the time the next round
the
is
circle.
back. Because if it's not dry, then it goes down. It's not good. The
Yeah,
quality is
yeah.
not good. So that is a different kind of concrete than they use in the casting, for example.
Did you try building houses?
No, we don't.
Not yet.
No, we don't. In Holland, the use case of printed houses is very difficult because we are a small country, and we have to we have to build up high to make use of the land we have. This is not the way of going, and also we think that the use of concrete, we have to not increase it but decrease it. So building with more concrete is not the best way. We think about wood, for example, but it works for a smaller amount to use it in an effective way, because we have a lot of concrete at the moment. We use a lot of concrete, and a world without concrete within 10 years is almost impossible.
But is wood possible to be used as a raw material? Or something with wood?
Yeah, we're going to start with wood printing with the stone printer you saw over there. So some kind of fibers will be added to the
More
material.
eco-friendly.
And we're already using material with natural fibers like miscanthus, the olifantsgras, and like floss, straw,
Flaxen.
flaxen, floss, and
Flax, yeah.
hennep, for example, that are
Hennep is popular here in
that
the
is good
Netherlands.
fibers to add to the material, but it's still a composite. So real wood would be, we need some kind of
Resins
binding
also.
material, but there are binding materials that are
Resins.
yeah. Like lignine, for example, that is a binding material that's natural. So we'd like to test with that as well, because that is very interesting to print or to use it as a binder, because it's eco-friendly.
Yeah.
And it's a natural product. So, but it is in early stages.
In the future, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, when I googled you, that is the thing I saw on the first photo, the bridgey thing. What, yeah.
It is.
What is it?
They have even a pond below, a little lake.
It was the first printed object, and that was before we were able to do it. So it is printed by the BAM, but now it's called the WMX. They're in Eindhoven, and they're still producing like we do with Neolithic in a larger scale. So they are a commercial entity. But it's good to show what happens and what is possible. So we co-create, cooperate with them very good. But basically they're some kind of competitor, but they're not, because the change in the world needs a lot more examples like this. So not really competitive.
No.
The 3D printing is new, so we help each other with knowledge. We see what other can do, and also it's very regional. So they're in Eindhoven, far away, and we're here. So these are good examples to show what happens.
Yeah.
Last step, and then we go back. Is our
Last step, guys.
oh, it's the big one, because it's all.
Last but big step.
The building itself is not funded. We
Humanity.
did that in cooperation with a lot of companies.
Yeah.
We got some funding, but not really from the EU. But it was profit funding. Yeah, how do you say? Recycled objects. So it was part of the building in Almere, and they wanted to polish it. Location where it was, but it was only 12 years at that time. So one of the examples is because it's
You can print that with a machine, you know, that I saw
so we did a feasibility study.
These are left to dry.
Decided to build it again here, but it was part of the building, so we added some new functionality, new examples of nice building materials or nice examples of reuse of materials like this. But also the walls, for example, are prefab walls, so that is fairly new for the construction. These are PVC tiles. So these are the old PVC pipe tube, only reused and
cut and
no,
recolored.
they
compressed.
yeah,
Compressed.
in a mold. So they use molds for this.
Wow.
But we do some projects with them, also innovation project, where we can see if we can do something around the corner, for example, because that is not possible with the mold, and also the customization of small parts of the wall. But I think this is a beautiful example of upscaling material, like ugly PVC to something very creative.
It's
very
traditional for here, for
No, it's
for the
PVC.
Netherlands.
It's
Yes,
plastics.
I mean the kind of laying vertically
not
the
really.
tower.
No, not really.
I saw these walls with tiles.
Yeah,
Some
but it's not
ceramic
really.
tiles.
Yeah, it's not really
It's not
Dutch.
tradition.
No,
Ah,
no.
okay, so it's kind of
More French.
Yeah,
because
like the
wall
roof,
is vertical
tops.
and you have these
Yeah.
towel.
But
We do use it on the roof.
Is there a reason why this is
Yeah.
No, it's just the sun. Yeah, there's no heating system. It's just the sun. But these are old PVC pipes. There are other examples, so when we walk around back, then I'll show you some examples of new technology or new materials when you go inside.
Do you have the electricity in Romania?
No, we don't.
Oh, that's why you look like that.
So this is inside the building. We still have a lot to do. And all the projects I show you, all the examples I show you are some more or less projects we do with small or medium enterprises. Sometimes they pay, sometimes we use a voucher, and European funding, for example, or something.
The size of the budget from the European Union. I mean, this voucher
Is it millions or hundreds of
These
thousands?
vouchers are small.
Small.
So we have a first voucher, what I told you about the inventarisatie, the advisory voucher is all 5,000 euros, so that's 1 week hours, for example. Then we have the feasibility study for 10,000 euro, so that's also small. But we think it's enough to see what happens, to see the first results of your
As a
innovation.
pilot kind of
Yeah,
thing.
the pilot is afterwards. So the feasibility.
Oh, it's afterwards, yeah?
Yeah, the feasibility is really to see if something works. So, can I do this with this? Can this be something good for me, for example? And if that's a good answer, then you can say, well, okay, let's try it in real, and then we start a pilot project, and that is maximized till 100,000 euros, but then you have to pay yourself 50%.
Really?
So 50%.
Who decides if
And
the
it's all-
idea is good or not? If, let's say, tomorrow I come here and by first glance, by your experience, you see
Yeah.
that this is completely stupid and nothing to do with
Then we
the
tell
idea.
you that.
So it's your
Free of charge.
responsibility.
Yeah, we are first, and that was one of the, we think improvements, but it is a risk, but one of the improvements is that we do the first assessment. And for the larger and more difficult projects, we need to ask the advisory board of Council for West, for example, but we have an expert commission, an external expert who controls who reviews the requests as well. So we have
Because I was
some.
thinking, that
Yeah, but it is a very easy process. So it is easy, but yeah, okay, there are some risks in it, but it makes for a company the application very simple.